Drop some knowledge.
Chat, 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 chat. Chat, 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 chat. It's okay, Hannah. This is gonna be a short one. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. This lighting is great. This lighting is really hitting. A little random. Should rap on this. Yeah. Yeah. 60 viewers already, very exciting. Bye, Hannah. Oh, that was the end of it. I'll be right back.
Oh, right there.
Thank you. Just doing my job. Just doing my job.
Okay, yeah, what time to start? Hey, you here? Y'all don't know? Show me that cat. Don't go way down. That's all I know. Come on, somebody got shit there. Come on.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Let me tuck this behind my ears. Feeling low. Just need to get comfortable, you know. Alright, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Hello, K Barn. My morning's been pretty good. I woke up at like 11, so it wasn't very long. It's currently 12:47. Have y'all bought 5 copies of Life Goes On today? Love Goes On. Yeah. 70 viewers. That's a nice little, calm little amount of viewers. Nothing too crazy. I thought we were gonna get flooded because sometimes when we do these early streams, these early BTS streams, that's when we get our most viewers. Like when I did the stream about what was it called? The concert, BTS 1, Map of the Soul 1. Was it even Map of the Soul 1 or was it yeah, it was Map of the Soul 1, and we also did one after God, it's been a year. Pangbangkan. Those are packed, bro. Those are crazy. We're getting 200, 300 people. Now we got like a nice 70. I usually stream late, and I see that a lot of you guys are appreciating a nice early stream. So here it is. But I will normally be streaming late still. Thanksgiving is about to come, / my birthday. Thanksgiving / my birthday. And that is, you know, very exciting for me because I like it. I like Thanksgiving and my birthday. My birthday's on the on Friday the 27th, and Thanksgiving is on Thursday. And then next Monday, the 30th, my album will come out. And in between that time, I have a special surprise for you guys. But I'm focusing in on this week to the best of my ability. Yes, 27th. That's also Hannah Orange's birthday. But for now, we are focusing on the present time, and the present situation, which is an album came out. B by BTS came out. What an album. What a cool album, man. I'm like really excited to talk about it a little bit. Not gonna get into too much detail, because if I did, we'd be here all day and I don't have that much time. But we'll spend like a nice 30 minutes to an hour while this Tottenham Manchester City game goes on. If anybody wants to talk about sports with me, by the way, I'm always ready for that. Always ready for that. Will I stream when my album comes out? Absolutely, I will. I will stream on the 20... Should I stream on Sunday the 29th at night, or should I stream on Monday? I would probably do both, right? Gonna stream Sunday the 29th, probably from like 8 to 12. You know, probably like 8 to 1. Anyway, enough about my music. If you guys are interested in that, just follow me on Twitter. Me and Hannah are working on marketing. Life Goes On debuts with 9 million unfiltered streams? Let me look at this. Are you serious? Didn't they just say it was like 6.5? Wait a minute. $9 million? That can't be right. I'm sorry, what? Are you serious? Let's see chart data. BTS chart data has just posted this. Unfiltered. So filtered is the 6.4 number, right? 6.5 is the filtered number. Oh, we're at 100. Nice. 9.5. So they filtered 3.5 million streams out of there. That's kind of crazy. I don't know what that would be. My debut and Kai debut are the same day. I don't know what that would be. Why those are getting filtered out? But either way, those are some insane numbers. Dude, 9.5 million is insane. I gotta not be on Twitter. Wow. So the news is gonna continue to pour in about numbers and things like that. But nine wow. And 42.8 million streams of the album on Spotify. That's pretty crazy. Hannah's not in the stream right now. She's working. Y'all need some holy. What? We need some holy what? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of news. There's a lot of things to get to. I don't know what you guys exactly want to get to first. I saw that somebody in the chat asked earlier, and I'm sorry for not catching that. By the way, hello everybody. Hello K-Bar, Marabella, V Give Me Your Fish Money, Ghost State Tip, Alexandra, Darpur, Namu, John Bliss, McKinsey, Robots, Addison, Kiwi Chai, Alexandra C, Lachi Molala, Kirsten, K-Barn, Noom, Camille, Kunai, Aura, Stacy, Ren E, K, I Can't Stand the Crane. My brother is also streaming right now, and I guess he's not having a great time streaming whatever game he was streaming. Stephanie, what I'm gonna tell you right now is that being laughed at and mocked is just kind of a thing that armies have to deal with, and it's not pleasant, but these days it's gotten a lot better because BTS's success has gotten to the point where people want to be a part of it more than they want to distance themselves from it because they've been afraid of it for so long, and they thought it was just going to go away, and it hasn't. But what I will say is the Hot 100, I think every song has a chance of charting if everybody continuously buys each song separately. That's going to be an important undertaking. Everybody needs to buy the song separately. I have 122 viewers in this chat right now. I need all of you guys to buy the song. I have done it on Amazon so far, and I'm going to do it on iTunes as well. Also, we need to continuously buy Life Goes On. And that is because Life Goes On is not getting support from Columbia. Because, you know, why would my distribution company support my second lead single? Why would they push it to radio? Why would that happen? But it's going to be really hard to overtake Dynamite. Guys, I think we've created a monster. I think Dynamite is a little too powerful. But this is kind of how hits work. Guys. Dynamite, you know, we were wondering what it was going to be like when BTS actually got the push and actually had a song that was a hit, combined with the power of the fandom, combined with like even just meager industry support, which is what Dynamite really got. Dynamite didn't get, you know, whatever this Shawn Mendes Justin Bieber song is right now, whatever the Shawn Mendes Camila Cabello thing got, whatever any of these top label polls get for their radio play. Dynamite got like half of that. And then when Dynamite got half of that, in combination with the fandom just being at its peak at that point, and the fandom having years of experience just supporting music by itself, and being given a couple of different outlets to just continuously support the song through purchasing it repeatedly, Dynamite just obliterated everybody else with half of what, you know, no shade or anything, but with half of what Justin Bieber would get, half of what Shawn Mendes, half of what Selena, maybe. I don't know. Who are these big people on the radio now? Diplo? I don't know. Did I laugh with the skit? Kind of, yeah. A skit blocking the Vanilla Gorilla. Well, iTunes is not something to pay too much attention to. I hate to break it to you. I hate to say this, guys, but people don't really use iTunes anymore. So I know that we get very excited when BTS songs chart top 10 on iTunes. American US iTunes is still fairly important. Not like important, but like it's still fairly used, fairly relevant. But it's not that hard to chart number 1 on iTunes, and I think everybody knows that. And people are using iTunes less and less, and it's becoming of decreasing relevance to the industry as it pivots from purchases to streams. So it's fun, but if you look at iTunes solely and say like, oh well, these songs are destroying everybody else, then you're gonna be a little bit misguided, because the other outlets are what has to be paid attention to. For instance, like Spotify, where Life Goes On has received 9-point-something million streams in day 1, unfiltered. So that's pretty crazy. 42-something million unfiltered streams. You're right, Tasfia, for B. And that is just, there's a lot to talk about here. But what I wanted to do first, now I always say what I want to do first, like 20 minutes into the 500 minutes into the stream, I'm like, but first things first, guys. Let's get to our first point. I wanted to give like a small presentation about just general streaming and purchasing knowledge. Now, I feel like everybody in the chat probably knows, though, right? Like, does everybody in the chat feel pretty comfortable in terms of like streaming and purchasing and like the general summary of like the ways in which to support BTS for charting and marketing and stuff like that? Because I have like a small presentation laid out in terms of just some things that I know, the things that I've learned, some things that people say, in terms of like what to do to support BTS and streams and purchases. But if everybody's just kind of like, Elliot, we already know this better than you do at this point, then we can kind of skip that. but I can do that. I don't know where to go to purchase. Okay, you should go to Amazon.com if you have an Amazon account, and you should purchase them from Amazon, even though we hate Amazon. We hate all these companies, frankly. You should also go to iTunes and purchase there. Those are the two places where you should purchase each song separately. And we can talk about that a little bit. It's okay, give us the presentation. It can't hurt. I know most stuff. Well, let me also... I'm gonna also record this, and so I'll keep this maybe either on this channel or on the side channel, on my Elliot Sang channel, in order to have a record of me giving this little presentation about the things that we should be doing and like the general ways to navigate this. And I think most of this stuff is stuff that everybody will know upon watching this. I don't expect to get like a bazillion views from random people, but I think that this will be I might be able to give a little bit of help or insight or break things down just a little bit helpfully. But I'm also going to do this very quickly, and it's going to be very simple. So just to go over everything. And if I come up with anything that's wrong or needs correction, please feel free to do that in the chat. Is there anything non-Americans can do to help Hot 100? That I'm actually a little bit not sure of. I'm a little bit not sure of that because... maybe if you have Spotify or Apple Music, those like I think streaming numbers count. Am I wrong about that, or is it just US? It might just be US streams, frankly. So I'm not even actually that sure of that. So we're already off to a good start as far as my knowledge base. Hello, Andrea. Subscribe to your second channel from here. So I mean, I'll see what happens. My hair looks amazing. Thank you. So let's go over streaming. Streaming is the main thing. And when we talk about streaming, we're talking about not only the streaming devices like Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and Google Play, but we are also talking about YouTube, which is a main streaming source, particularly for official content that's released, and particularly for music videos. Everybody knows about the music video records, and then everybody talks about YouTube views. It's very important, and they do have some impact on charting. They don't have a tremendous amount of impact on charting, but they're pretty much equal to other streaming apps to my knowledge. And yes, Slothy is right. You can help by donating to the funding accounts, particularly funds for Pangtan. If you are looking to contribute as a non-American. Also, don't use VPN. Apriline is very on point with that. Apriline says, do not use VPN. Do not use a VPN. They get filtered out. And also, we don't want to be looked at as cheating, because if there's a cheating scandal that pops up, then everybody's gonna be like, oh, well, Army's cheating. They cheat and they cheat and they cheat and stuff, and that's all people will talk about to the end of time. So. Streaming and buying are the most direct forms of support for an artist. So you don't stream just because it gives money to the artist. In fact, in a lot of cases, it doesn't really give that much money to the artist, because first of all, streaming, like one stream will give you like a percentage of a cent. But in addition to that, contractual arrangements between the artist and the label will divide that revenue. So if you make up 2% of a cent from a Spotify stream, and your label is like making, you're overall dividing that revenue that you make from your music to like 3 different people for a total of like 50%, then you're only going to make like 1% of a cent. He knows that he's loud. He's still... So a VPN is a virtual private network that you set up to be able to use your internet without certain things, and it's generally a helpful thing to use for safety, and a helpful thing to use to infiltrate into other countries' websites and ease restrictions. But because those are used for people from foreign countries, for people from different countries to access things from other countries using a proxy, basically, those are seen as illegitimate. Additionally, um, these things are what drive charting and other forms of signification to the market to indicate that a song is successful. Just in general, if a song has a lot of streams, people are like, oh, that song must be popular. And the people that we're talking about include, influencers, the people are labels, companies, anybody that might want to figure out what's going on in terms of what's popular and see how they can contribute. It can also be an indication to the labels about what is wanted, what music people are listening to, what they want to hear, and that is important in several different ways. But at the same time, not something that I stress over too much, because labels will always find a way to hijack whatever's popular and co-opt it in a way that makes it worse. For streaming, streaming is important overall, especially for charting and for market signification, because it is the main way in which people consume music. And so there are some different ways in which you can stream, and some different techniques that you can use in order to stream a song as much as possible, get its streams up as much as you can. And in order for that, to be clean and not have any of those get filtered out. Because there's many ways that streams and views get filtered out, as we are all probably familiar with. The first rule that I would say there is to streaming is just a general thing, which is to enjoy yourself. This is supposed to be about listening to music and supporting the art that you love. It's supposed to be supporting entertainment, it's supporting things that you care about. It's fandom stuff. And fandom stuff, at a base level, is supposed to be at least some level of enjoyable. Even if we take it seriously, even if it's much deeper than just being an enjoyable thing, fandom is supposed to be fun. And streaming is supposed to be fun, to at least some degree. You're supposed to want to listen to the music. Now, this doesn't mean that, you should just completely neglect streaming. If it's something that you're able to do, then you should do it. But don't put yourself in a position where the streaming that you're doing is making you very miserable. You know what I mean? And we can talk about some different ways in which to do that later on. But if you're having your mental health and emotional health deteriorate due to anything, especially just listening to music, if that, leave that to be changed. Change that in some way, or just get rid of it. And there's different ways in which you can do this to be able to, keep your emotional and mental health intact, keep yourself focused, etc., etc. In fact, I find that I'm more productive and happy during this comeback, especially since there's not been so much drama. I've just been able to feel encouraged and engaged with by the music. It's energizing. But ultimately, the reason that you should enjoy yourself while streaming is not just because of a moral thing. It's not just because it's stupid if people are just driving themselves miserable to stream music, which defeats the purpose, right? That's the general thing that everybody says. But even on a base level of productivity, I'm gonna kick his ass. Even if you're just on a base level talking about productivity, when people are not enjoying something and people do not want to do something, there's no longevity. Eventually you will burn out, and eventually you won't be able to contribute. For example, if you are an activist, if you are doing any type of job and you hate your job, you're not going to be great at doing your job, and eventually you'll want to leave. Eventually you're not going to do it well. Eventually you're going to give up. Eventually you'll change careers. Same thing with streaming. If people don't want to stream, the streams are not going to come. If people are not enjoying their streaming experience, the streams are not going to come. They're not going to come, because eventually people will burn out. It doesn't matter how much you tell armies, oh, push armies, use this anger. You know what I mean? They care about this so much. You know what I mean? Eventually people are just gonna, at least their lizard brain will tell them stop doing this, and then they'll actually have a thought or a moment to themselves where they'll be like, yeah, I actually don't think BTS want me to die. I actually don't think BTS want me to suffer to listen to their music. I think BTS want me to really care about their music and enjoy it. However, that's more to talk about a little bit later. Please do not mind my brother screaming right now, Rod. he is moving out soon, so we're not gonna have to deal with this very much longer. Um, the second thing that I want to say, the second step of this, is that algorithms are not privy to us. Meaning, the tactics that we come up with, the things that we say about the algorithms, the things that we say in terms of the techniques we should be using for maximizing our stream counts, these things are not privy to us. There's a reason we don't know these things, for sure, because the apps are not going to reveal their algorithms, because that would just give everybody exactly the tools that they need in order to just hike up streams, right? They want this to be, something that you use naturally. They want those numbers to come about naturally, and they want the algorithm to sort things out quietly. We are trying to work with the algorithm, and we don't know how the algorithm works exactly. We have figured out some things that probably work. We have used some strong testing. We have used some secondary information, and we have made some estimated guesses as far as certain things that work. But ultimately, we don't know for sure, and that is important to keep in mind, especially if you're screaming at people. Roderick is moving out. So yeah, algorithms are not privy to us. We don't know exactly how they work. The third thing is to stream like a human. That's the general metaphysical abstract rule of streaming. You want to stream in a way that feels natural and doesn't seem like, even if you feel like you've followed all the rules that you know in your head about how the streams work, if you feel like in your heart something feels really unnatural about this, something feels a lot like what you're doing is probably going to get picked up, feel free to shake things up in a way so that it feels more natural. The whole goal of these things, and the reason that these algorithms are in place, is to try to detect whether or not something is artificial, whether or not somebody's actually streaming this like a human, or whether or not somebody's actually streaming this using a VPN or a robot and like looping and doing things that are not human methods of consumption. Now, that kind of thing is a little bit up for debate in terms of its effectiveness, because don't human beings listen to music over and over again? I listen to songs over and over again. I loop songs. Like, that's how I normally listen to things sometimes. So the idea that looping a song is unnatural or inhuman, that's a little bit frustrating, but that's how these things work. That's why these things are in place, generally. So this also includes, so since we're talking about looping, basically looping will make your streams get filtered out. If you listen to a song and you loop it over from the stop again, yeah, Courtney, I think you fucked that one up. If you listen to the album on loop, if you listen to a song on loop particularly, it will not count. It will count for the first listen, for the first stream, for the first view on YouTube, and then the next ones probably will not count. That's just how this kind of seems to work. So what you want to do is instead listen to or watch two or three different things in between streaming the same song over and over again. So if you pick a song, let's say Life Goes On, especially picking different songs from different artists, especially picking different videos from different sources, will help the algorithm detect that you are actually a normal, natural user of the platform, listening to different things, watching different things, and that when you are just coming back to this song because you wanted to hear it again, rather than just looping it to try to get the streams up. Because at the end of the day, if looping were not filtered out, then people would just be able to loop a song over and over again and get 1 million streams on it by themselves. So that's important to know. 2 to 3 songs is generally what we say. 2 to 3 videos is generally what we say. Now, you can manipulate this a little bit generally. On YouTube, what we tend to do is watch really short videos. I like to watch cute little cat videos that are like 50 seconds, 5 seconds, 20 seconds, memes, 50 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, that are funny or that are cute, or maybe little clips from things. It could be anything, as long as it's a video that's like 1 minute or less, sometimes less than that, so sometimes more than that. That's the kind of thing that I'll try to sandwich my streams between, and that way I get to listen to the song more times over an hour. That's the secret sauce. I don't know if the YouTube police are listening to me right now and going, fuck. But they're probably going to change the algorithms a bunch of times. And each time that they'll change it, it'll be more and more difficult, but we'll figure them out. For now, this is seemingly the way in which you can repeatedly stream a song and get the numbers up. You can watch 2 or 3 songs, listen to 2 to 3 songs, watch 2 to 3 different videos that are short in between re-streaming a song. Number 4, use different devices when possible. So if you're just listening from one laptop, which I am usually doing, there's less chance sometimes for that to be counted towards the streaming, because you're using the same device and just, you know, going back and forth. And I think the algorithm tends to favor when different devices listen to or stream a record, because that indicates that different people on different places with different devices are using it, right? And they can't necessarily detect whether or not somebody's watching it, whether or not somebody different is using it, etc., etc. So a lot of armies will do, especially to maximize them at the same time, log into different accounts on different devices. This is especially important to use different accounts. I'm using my YouTube on my computer, then I'm using my second YouTube on my iPhone, then I'm using a third YouTube on my TV and playing Life Goes On all at once, or playing different things all at once. And then I tend to not try to play things at the same time unless I'm desperate. So what I'll do is because that feels unnatural. So what I'll do is maybe on my computer, I will be doing something with my one YouTube account. Then on my phone, I will have a different account watching Life Goes On. And then sometimes I'll cycle back and forth. Using different devices. And that also includes getting, you know, people that you know to watch the video. Send it to your friend. Send it to your mom. You know, send it to your cousin. Hey, watch this. And if you like it, watch it again when I send it to you again in an hour. You know what I mean? You want to keep the volume at least halfway up. This is number 5. On the song. If you put the song on Spotify, let's say, and then you lower the volume what's going to happen is that the Spotify is going to register that, oh, you're not actually listening to the song. You're playing the song, but then you put the volume all the way down on our device, on our app. I think that this can be tinkered with if you actually turn the volume down on your own device. I'm not positive about this, so I kind of try to avoid it sometimes. But I think like if you have the laptop, for example, the laptop audio down to like 5%, but the YouTube videos audio up to like 70, 80%, what will happen is it won't be able to detect that your computer is at a certain speaker volume, because, you know what I mean? I don't know if they have that power. Fuck me, I might be wrong. But that's a possibility. Generally, the safe thing to do, though, is keep your device at a standard volume and keep the YouTube video at a standard volume. Keep the YouTube video at like 60, 70. You know what I mean? And that will... you know, it doesn't have to be at 100%, although you can turn that shit all the way up. As Life Goes On, it slaps. But if you don't want to, then you can use the volume. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that the volume is like at a certain level. You also, when you're watching a video on YouTube, to count for so they can sort out what's a robot stream and what's not a robot stream, is you want to keep the tab on as much as possible. You don't want to, you know, let's say I'm on YouTube and I'm watching, you know, Justice Dare covers, and I'm playing Justice Dare covers, and then I'm like, all right, cool. So now I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna look at all these notes, and I'm gonna go back on MMA.com. I'm gonna go on Reddit MMA and read through. We think that actually has a negative impact. We think that might filter out views, because the app is reading that you're not actually watching the video. You are just, you know, putting it on in the background and then sorting through different things. So to be safe, when you watch the video, keep the video tab open as much as possible. You can switch through different things. I'd switch through different things, but keep it on as much as possible. And then, you know, switch off when it's time to switch to a different thing. So this is also this is something I'm gonna get into later, but headphones, when it comes to volume, are something that you can make use of, as people in the chat have said. If you don't want to listen to a song, if you don't want the song to be out loud, but you want to play it so you can get a stream, you can plug in your headphones to the laptop or to your iPhone. This is what I was doing yesterday. I like to listen to a lot of podcasts and watch a lot of different videos. So I wanted to stream the video at the same time, but I put the video on my iPhone on YouTube, and I plugged my headphones into my iPhone so that I didn't hear it, even though it was playing at full volume and even though I was on YouTube. So it's not going to be able to register that the headphones aren't in your ears, you know what I mean? And to be honest, I was still hearing it because I had it at a reasonable volume. So I still heard the song just lightly in the background, and it didn't really bother me. But I still was enjoying the song. 6, use different playlists on streaming platforms to diversify streaming sources. So this is where it gets kind of complicated. I don't know a ton about the way playlists work, but I'm sure there's going to be people in the chat that can be illustrative about these different aspects. You want to make a playlist. You want to share playlists. You don't want those playlists to be all BTS songs. You want them to have the songs from the album. Perhaps you have Life Goes On and Dynamite. Perhaps you have all the songs from the album split in between 1 or 2 or 3 different songs that from different artists. That way the algorithm registers and the website or the app registers. Oh, this person's not just trying to get all the BTS streams up. This person has all these songs on their playlist because they love these songs, and they have them in between these different songs, which means that they're, you know, naturally coming in the flow of listening to different shit. I don't know. It seems to be working that way. Good night, Niha. Also, look at what Nana points out. Always try to look at what counts for the charts in your country, because what works for one country doesn't work at all for another. Elliot, no. Apriline says Elliot, no. So I'm going to be corrected in a second. But generally, the use of playlists is important. Another thing that I'm going to say about playlists, you put mostly BTS songs. Yeah, you can put mostly BTS songs. Just if you put all BTS songs. Okay, you guys are saying things that I didn't say. So if you put all BTS songs in a streaming playlist, it's not going to register that you are listening to different. This is why this is important. It's not going to register that you are listening to different artists. It's going to register that you're only listening to BTS. So for the algorithm, what it does is it doesn't suggest the BTS songs, even though their streams are high, to people who are listening to these different artists. So you might be listening to all these different artists, but the people who are listening to those artists are not getting BTS recommended to them. Additionally, sometimes it can register that, I mean, I don't know, but I have a sense that it could register that sometimes if you have all BTS songs in a playlist, that it might be just like a streaming up thing. I don't know that for sure. You can put mostly BTS songs. You can put 90%, 80% of BTS songs. You can put all BTS songs as well as solo songs from different people that are features or whatever. And also, no, I didn't say that you use the competition's music. If you're listening to Megan Thee Stallion on your playlist, who also put an album, you know, with one of her B-sides on her album, that song is not going to compete with Life Goes On for the charts. You don't want to put WAP when, you know, a few months ago, WAP on Dynamite playlist, because WAP streams are going to go up while Dynamite streams are going to go up, which is only going to make WAP more competitive with Dynamite for the #1 spot. So this is a good opportunity for you to flex your indie artist knowledge and your obscure artist knowledge. We add other artists so that we don't just get K-pop recommendations on autoplay. Yeah, K-pop recommendations are also, that's the thing, because, you know, BTS is what comes up the most in terms of recommendations for other K-pop listeners. So what you want to do is try to put other different artists on there, because we want to listen to, we don't have a problem with K-pop listeners getting BTS songs recommended to them, even though we all know that a lot of K-pop listeners will already by that point have listened to BTS and have decided whether or not they want to listen to BTS. However, what we want to do is at least for the algorithm's sake, allow for people who had never listened to K-pop before to be recommended to BTS, because the algorithm is now recommending non-K-pop listeners to BTS, and that's kind of fucked up because you can only listen to Korean artists to get recommended Korean artists. Like, what makes the difference? So, if you want to put other Korean artists that are from different genres, like from different industries, that's cool. If you want to put Korean American artists, Asian American artists, and have them get recommended BTS. If you want to put like hip hop artists, like as long as the genre is not completely drastically different from BTS, then it can allow for people to get algorithmically recommended BTS, even though they've never listened to BTS before, and that's good. So that's that whole thing. So that's that whole thing. Additionally, there are different official playlists that will put BTS on the playlists. Help your girl out and stream a couple of Stray Kids songs if you like Stray Kids. Yes. If you hi Neha, welcome back. If you noticed, there's some official playlists, including the biggest playlist, Today's Top Hits. I think that's one of the biggest playlists. I think Rap Caviar is probably bigger. But when you look at these top playlists, when they put BTS on, you want to stream BTS on those playlists a little bit. Now you want to be careful because a lot of times the songs that will be next to BTS will be BTS's competition in terms of streaming. But you don't want to neglect them entirely either. You want to minimize your capacity for streaming these other top songs while still using these playlists and using them naturally in a way where it does play into the next song. It does play from the song before. So currently, I believe, as of yesterday, Today's Top Hits had BTS's Life Goes On at number 12 on their playlist. And what you can do is you can stream Life Goes On the playlist and then stream into the next song, which is Lemonade by Internet Money, which is a good song. And that song is not necessarily going to compete with BTS for the Hot 100, I don't think. And that song is good. So if you do that, it signifies to the streaming playlist creator, and it signifies to the algorithm that these songs are being listened to on this playlist, and therefore you should keep them on the playlist, and maybe you should even move them higher. That's just something that we've also theorized. I think that there's some truth to that as well. Make BTS the main focus, but try and keep it natural, says Slothy, and that's pretty strong. You can also hide the songs. That's also a good point. You can hide songs or not listen to certain artists, not listen to certain songs. You can make that. You can program that into your streaming app, and so therefore, if the next song is Shawn Mendes and Justin Bieber, and that's going to compete for the Hot 100, you can hide that song so it doesn't play into that, and it'll play into the next song instead, which is, I don't know, like a Miley Cyrus song or something. Bit 2B songs between Life Goes On. For other songs that add their older album songs or rap line mixtape or vocal line songs like Sweet Night, which is not credited as BTS. Right. Although I think that they'll still get this is still associated with BTS. Okay, so number 7, get others involved. This is something I mentioned before, but just to be clear, by Raida, just to be clear, 7 million likes on Let's Go On. Life Goes On. Let's Go On. Good Lord. Just to be clear, number 7, get others involved. Like, if you have people that you think might be interested in BTS, and Comeback Time is here, Comeback Time is a perfect time to get those people interested in BTS. If the new songs on the comeback might be appealing to people with certain tastes that suggest it to them. Get them to stream. Get them to buy, etc., etc. If you can do that, then that's natural. That's diversifying your streaming, the streaming width. And that allows for, to get new fans on board, which is kind of one of the key elements of fandom, is like recruiting other people into it when they have potential interest. They'll still be associated with BTS, and I think that because I think they're also able to like connect artists together, so there's that. In terms of like if you listen to solo songs from BTS or collaborations, etc. So let's talk about personal peace. Let's talk about preserving your personal purple peace. So I mentioned headphones on devices before, but just to reiterate. sometimes you don't have the capacity to listen to a song again. This happens to me very easy. I burn out on songs very easily. So what I will do in order to stream the song but not listen to it is put headphones on the device so that I don't hear it, or I might put it in a different location. For example, I have a TV here and I can play YouTube on that TV. I can play the Life Goes On video on the TV and then go into a different room and then hang out there. And then I'll go back and check on the TV and then change it up so that I'm using different devices and I'm not even hearing the song, but I'm streaming. That will allow you to listen to different things and focus on different things. Hi, Janelle. It will allow you to focus on what you need to hear. It will allow you to listen to different music. So consider that if that's something that's bothering you. Consider that if you don't want the devices to clash audio. For example, if you want to play Life Goes On from different devices at the same time, at different accounts, but you don't want to hear 3 different Life Goes On playing at the same time, clashing with each other rhythmically and sonically to where it's just what you can do is put headphones on them, put them in different locations. And then you can do tasks as well. This is actually a very healthy way to stream, is to do tasks, do things that you want to do. I find that music charges me, it turbocharges me to do all types of stuff. It turbocharges me to do my chores, to clean, to do homework, etc., etc. So, stream, put something in somewhere else if you need to, and then do your task at the same time. And then just revisit and toggle back and forth. And this is an important thing that I want to talk about because it's something that seems to be me when Fake Love got released. It's something that seems to be a recurring conversation or recurring issue that people don't seem to be able to address with nuance within fandoms, especially within ARMY, because of how dedicated we are to streaming. There's ambition and then there's expectation. I'm going to repeat that. There's ambition and then there's expectation. When you set goals for streaming, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for the stream, usually it's for the entire expectation for streams. I saw people on Twitter talking about we need Life Goes On should do 120 million views the first day. 24 hours, 120 million views, break the record again. There's a lot of people that make these predictions who are not entirely experienced or skilled with understanding expectations, market forces, and making predictions for these very complicated things, because these streaming numbers are very complicated things ultimately. These are very complicated things, right? You can't just sort what should get most views based off of whether it's the next big single. Like, it's the next title track, so we should get more views than the last title track. It doesn't really work that way. What we saw today and what we saw with all these different, title tracks we've dealt with is that depending on things from 700 million views in one day, things from length to, length of the video, to time that the video is released, to, most importantly, market forces. ARMY can be all in on a song, but what if the general public's not all in on it, and they don't, if the general public is not checking it out, the views are not going to go up as easily. If the song has come out after BTS have been inactive for 5 months and they finally drop a comeback lead solo, a single that's not attached to any album, all people are focused on is that song. That's what happened with Dynamite. Dynamite came out, it had been a few months since BTS dropped anything, it was out of nowhere, it was getting promoted, and there was no album attached. There's no album to listen to, it was just the song. So all the energy and all the focus that ARMY's had went into streaming the song, and Dynamite got GP support, and Dynamite was in English, so that's why I got the GP support, got Columbia support, and these different things have different effects, especially when it comes to when the GP is interested in something. I don't know how shady sometimes it can be, but ultimately we can know that it has an effect, right? So when Life Goes On comes out, there's an album attached. And that has 8 different songs, and it's on different streaming platforms. So the attention and the focus and the energy has to be divided between let's stream on YouTube and also let's stream the full album with 7 different other songs on different platforms. We can't just focus all of our attention and energy onto the YouTube video. So that automatically takes stuff off. That automatically takes, makes the views less. So context is very important. Now, I don't have a problem with somebody setting a goal to be 120 million views for Life Goes On in a day. 150, 700 million views, or I guess that was the thing. 700 million views in a day. I don't necessarily have a problem with people doing that. What I have a problem with is when people cannot temper their ambition with expectation. Your ambition should be to shoot for as many views as possible, as many streams as possible. It's perfectly cool if you were like, yo, let's try to do 100 million views for Life Goes On in a day. Let's try it. Let's try to do 105, 120. Let's try to do 150 million views in a day. What has to happen, though, is that once the thing happens and the context comes in and we see what the views are materializing as, you have to have had expectations set to know that, okay, this is realistic. This is a realistic outcome. This is a possible outcome. This is an outcome that is not extremely exorbitantly weird. This is not a terrible, terrible outcome. This is an outcome that went according to what we knew was probably going to happen given the context of the situation. So that even if you get disappointed, your disappointment will not cause you to do rambunctious things in the name of some sort of injustice that you're seeing potentially happening, because your goal and your personal ambition, or your ambition that you share with a few thousand people for how many views should have happened, was not reached. That's you. That was your ambition. That was what you demanded of people. But just because you, GP is general public, just because you and a few hundred or a few thousand people who listen to you because you have a bunch of followers and who know you or who saw it retweeted and felt like they should also take part in that, just because y'all saw that it was we should do 120 million views, let's try to do 120 million views, saw that, does not mean that 120 million views was a realistic expectation. And it does not mean that not reaching 120 million views is an indication of a problem from other people in the fandom. Because you don't know, based on your understanding of the numbers, what the context of the situation was. You don't know whether other people in the fandom were also doing their best. And you didn't do that much generally. Most of these people don't do that much to actually make their expectation and their ambition for something picked up by other people. They don't do the organizing and the labor that it takes to go across platforms outside of Twitter, because Twitter armies are only at 20 something million, but not even. Most of those 20 million followers of BTS on Twitter are not active armies. Well, not most of them, but a good portion of them. So maybe you're talking about 10 to 15 million army on Twitter. And from there, you only reached like 1,000. But you thought that should have been the indication of what the comeback was going to be. Most people don't know these rules. They don't know any of this stuff. Most people don't even speak your language. So it's going to be very difficult for you to transition not only these goals, but to impart the knowledge, the strategy, and the motivation to all these different armies and all these different people in order for them to be able to accomplish this goal alongside you. But even aside from all of that, you are allowed to have this ambition. Even if millions of us had this ambition to get 120 million views or 150, 200 million views on Life Goes On. Even if we had that, that is a good thing. We should want to shoot for as many views as possible. But there's a difference between what you want and then what happens. Because there's way too many factors in these situations that are out of the fandom's control. Especially when it comes to first day 24-hour views on an algorithm on a platform that you can't pin down what's getting filtered and what's not getting filtered. That's not getting support from other parties, i.e. Columbia Records, i.e. General Public, which comes from Columbia Records, right? So what has to happen is not that you can't want 150 million views in a day, not that you can't want a certain number, that you can't want people to do more, but that when you want something and it doesn't happen, that you have an appropriate response to it. That is the important thing. And I've seen a lot of armies that have gotten better at this. I think the Army has gotten better at this. Hi, Samantha. You know, armies have gotten better at this. When we set a goal, but it doesn't happen, we can't instantly say it's our fault. People are lazy. People are not working hard enough. People don't care enough. The fandom is broken. That doesn't make any sense. We know that the fandom has more people every day. We know that the fandom is learning more every day from each expectation, from each situation. The numbers are going up. The numbers are constantly, within context especially, better than the last comeback. And as you can see, we had 9-point-something million streams on Spotify of Life Goes On unfiltered the first day. So I'm glad that I don't have to yell at anybody. I'm glad that I don't have to go on this platform and scream at people to do this, because I think everybody understands that certain things are out of our hands. And if you're going to get through life and you're going to be able to accomplish anything, whether it's in a fandom, whether it's by yourself, whether it's at a job, you have to understand context, and you have to be able to have a measured response and a willingness to understand situations when they don't go exactly as you want them to, right? Because it's one thing for me to be like, I want Life Goes On to get 120 million views in a day. I want us to do that. I can't control that. Fuck, I can't control that. I can't give them 120 million views in a day. I can barely give them 120 in a day. If I can't control it by myself, and the entire fandom that I'm in, you know, I can't even reach like more than 1% of them, and even if I did, we wouldn't be able to do this, right? Well, maybe we would. If you had 20 million people streaming 10 times an hour, that would be one thing. But you have to know, okay, that makes sense. This result makes sense. Now, if Life Goes On got 50 million views in a day, I'd be like, there's something wrong here. Something is wrong here. But the first assumption, even then, should not be armies are lazy. Armies gave up. Why would that be their first answer? Because people have an irrational understanding of how much power that they have, or what kind of power that they have. Because army and fandoms have massive amounts of power, right? We've seen it. But fandoms have power in longevity. Fandoms have power over time. This is what we've seen with everything. We've seen this with Katy Perry. We've seen this with every artist that has been hot at one point and then not at another point. Because if they don't have a massive fandom, if they don't have a strong fandom that is constantly supporting them and their endeavors over time, they'll have huge spikes in which they'll get, they'll break records and they'll do all these things, but the general public will move on. It's very fickle. And the labels will move on if the general public moves on. So there's no longevity in the support. BTS fans have longevity. That is the power that they have. My power is not that I'm able to buy 1 million copies of your song in a day. Army's power is not that they can buy 1 million copies of a song in a day. But Army's power is that we can buy, we can get you 80,000 first week, then 30,000 next week, then 30,000, 20,000 the next week. That is the real power, because it stays. And that is what people need to think about a lot more than just 24-hour records, is understanding that fandoms don't have power over short periods of time. In a short period of time, the general public, and particularly these labels, these industry heads, will have particular ability to reach these numbers that we can't reach on our own. But what we can do is continuously watch and continuously buy. Oh, yeah, good for Keanu Reeves and J-Bomb. So what we have to remember overall is ambition and expectations are two different things. Not that you can't expect, not that you can't even expect, let alone want 120 or 150 million views in a day, but that you should also keep your expectations reasonable and healthy. Because if they're not, then when things don't happen the way that you wanted them to, which is most of the time in life, you're going to do bad shit because you're not going to be able to react properly, because your disappointment has been so immeasurable that you start to act irrationally. You start to act not even just out of emotion and irrationality, because that's a stupid dichotomy, but like your negative emotions will contribute to you creating negative acts, and that is not something that we want. We want everybody to be, at the end of the day, we want people to be happy, we want people to be healthy, and we want to support BTS, right? And oftentimes all those things are united. Supporting BTS doesn't just mean breaking a crazy record or else. And if we don't break the crazy record, if we don't live up to your expectations, you have to have a better understanding of how the world works than to think that it was all under your control. Than to think that it was all up to the fandom itself and fandom being lazy. And not all these other contributing factors. There's so many factors into what gets a video as a bazillion views. Not just the fandom. All the fandom that can control is the longevity and the support and the staying power. So I can hammer that point home over and over again, but frankly, it is what it is. And I think everybody kind of gets that because, in previous times, people have been really disappointed and there have been a lot of quarrels, a lot of beefs. And there's always going to be people on the timeline. And this comes into number 4. There's always going to be people on the timeline. There's always going to be people in different social media apps, people that you know, people that you don't know, who are going to be bullying people. And bullying isn't just you're fat and you're lazy and you're stupid. Bullying is like, well, if you don't do this, you don't care about BTS. You know what I mean? If you don't do this, you're a bad fan. If we don't accomplish this, we're bad fans. We're letting BTS down. That's bullying. That's bullying. It doesn't matter how many times BTS tells you that, the numbers are not that important for them, that it only matters what armies feel and stuff like that. That part doesn't resonate with you, but you want to like emotionally manipulate people into streaming instead of having them actually stream healthily and naturally and happily according to what they can do. If somebody's streaming capacity, if somebody's actions don't fit your expectations, you think that you should just bully them instead of just like either giving up on them or educating them or moving on to somebody who might want to do it. You know what I mean? That shit is what drives more people out of the fandom more than anything. Because fans will gatekeep and fans will bully. Fans and fan communities, much like every other community, are full of people who are gatekeepers and who are bullies and who are assholes. And the reason that is because the world is full of people who are bullies and gatekeepers and assholes. And fandoms are merely an exaggeratedly visualized version of what happens in the real world, wherein a lot of people come to a fandom to create another ecosystem that will eventually resemble the world, but one in which they have more power. So anybody that comes around and says you don't care, you're not a real army, you don't care this and that, that stuff you have to be very careful with. Don't bully people and don't allow yourself to be bullied. This is another thing. I don't like to victim blame. I don't tell people that they're too sensitive. I don't like doing any of that because sensitivity is important. And everybody has suffered from things that people have said to them. Everybody's subject to be bullied. But we have to try our best not to be bullied. If you see somebody on the timeline that says something negative, that says something that you think is wrong, that hurts your feelings, that hurts the feelings of people around you, don't magnetize it. Move on. Just let them say it. Sometimes they're just saying it because they're frustrated. And when we're human beings and we're frustrated, we say things that are sometimes, wrong, or sometimes don't feel good. Sometimes they're saying things and you think that they're bullying you, but they're actually making a point. And maybe you just need to digest it for a while. Usually it's not about this, but sometimes it's about other things, right? But what you're not going to be able to help anybody with is just focusing on it, hyper-focusing on your anger on it. I want to say hyper-focusing. Focusing on your anger on it and magnifying it to where now it's a thing for a few hours that you have to deal with. Just move on. Just life goes on. Life goes on. Just walk away. We create more problems for ourselves when we continuously feed into the negativity that's around us rather than moving on from it or doing some sort of healthy response to it. We have to take more control over that. And that involves us being more healthy in our personal lives, and being more happy in our personal lives, and being more mature to be able to understand these situations. We all know people around us that are like fans that love BTS and stuff, and that every 2 seconds, they're like, I can't believe this is happening in the fandom. I feel fucking terrible. Everything's, what the fuck are they saying on the timeline? Why are people saying this? Why are people doing this? Why are people beefing? Why are people saying this? Why would they say this? Look at this. Look what they said. Look what they said here. This is terrible. Why would they say this? I'm going to kill them. You know what I mean? And every 2 seconds, they're always doing it. And the first or second time that they do it, every now and then if they do it, every other week if they do it, every week if they do it, it's just like, okay, that's rational. You're being a regular human being who responds sometimes to the negative things that are around you and needs help and support from your friends. Got it. And then sometimes you have friends that literally every hour of the day, there's a new negative thing that they're focused on that is bothering them, and they're gonna take it out on everybody because they're so scared and they're so upset. And I feel bad, but those people are also very toxic. Those people are not exercising the type of self-control that they need in order to help themselves, but most importantly to help others. If I walk up to my friends and I'm constantly like, oh my God, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this negative thing happened, and that's the majority of my interactions with my friends, what kind of energy am I giving to my friends? I'm just making them feel bad and encouraging them to do things like, yell at people, or to do things like get negative or drink or whatever to cope. You have to be very cognizant about how much drama you're allowing to overtake you. We have control over ourselves and our emotions and our brains. We have control over those things. Other people on K-pop Twitter, and on ARMY Twitter, and on YouTube and record labels, these people don't have control over our feelings at the end of the day. We have the control over our feelings. Now, I think that that's an oversimplification. I think that we have a lot less power and control over ourselves and over our environments than we think we do. But we have to remember that at the end of the day, we have to try our best to block out the things that are not going to help us and that are going to negatively affect us. Instead of engaging with it, magnifying it, and making it worse because we're so focused and so upset that we can't leave it alone. Because what happens there is that we actually have voices in our head. Yes. We actually have goals in our head. We have voices in our head that are telling us that negative things are true. The negative things, look at the negative things. Look at what people are saying. These are probably true because the negative thing is more rational. We think that the negative things in our head are more rational than the positive things. And so whenever we hear the negative things, we struggle with them because we're like, oh, this is probably true. At the end of the day, that's how we feel. It's, oh, this is probably true because it's negative and it sounds like something that makes sense. Even when it doesn't make sense. Ah, it's probably true because it's negative. That's why we react to it. That's why it bothers us so much. Because we either think it's probably true or we think it's going to be so cataclysmically effective, like it's going to affect other people to where other people make it a problem. And then where other people are affected. 700,000 people blocked. Jesus Christ. Chain blocking probably, yeah. So be careful. Be very careful what you allow to live in your head. Who you allow to live in your head. Whose voices you're listening to. What voices in your own brain you're listening to. Be very, very careful. Because at the end of the day, as much as we can yell at other armies and yell at other people for being negative and for doing negative things to us, we also have to take some control. We have to assert some control. You know? We have to assert some control. And remember that a lot of this is on Twitter, and you can just walk outside and breathe air with a mask on, but you can walk outside and breathe air. You can talk to your friends. You can drink a glass of water, man. Nothing that nobody says on Twitter can stop you from drinking a glass of water. So, that's important. Don't bully. Don't allow yourself to be bullied. Let's talk about buying for a second. Buying is the fans' number one advantage, especially in a longevity form, but even in a concentrated short-term form. What we saw with Dynamite that really propelled it to number one was constant purchases. All it took was 80,000, 100,000? There's 20 bazillion people in the army. And all it takes is 100,000 of them buying a copy of a song for it to chart high, for it to chart number one. We figured that lesson out with On, and that's why it got to number 4. But we didn't have an outlet through which we could repeatedly beat On, so it plummeted. With Dynamite, we had a website where we can continuously purchase Dynamite. So we did, and it was number 1, 3 different weeks. With Life Goes On, we have that website again. And so for anybody who has a small amount of cash, purchase Life Goes On 4 times a day. That is our number one advantage. If you purchase Life Goes On every day, you should still stream, but at the very least, you have done the majority of the work. Because no matter how many times you stream, purchases count way more for charting than streaming does. Not way, way more, but enough to where it's significant. And nobody's buying music these days, except armies for BTS. That's what fan support does. It's simple. It only costs a couple of dollars. It's $3 to buy 4 copies because it's 69 cents. And you can use different fundraising tools like Funds for Bangtan to get some extra money in order to buy stuff. You can use Funds for Bangtan. They have their fundraising. You can ask friends. They'll, sometimes people will send you money on the internet randomly. Let me put the link to the website in the chat. This is going to take a second. But basically, yes. The most important thing to do is to buy. Because even if the streams are low, if you get a fuck ton of fucking purchases to where it's astronomical, however many, you're going to chart really high. Because purchases are important. And that is the fans' power. That is the fans' power. Because the labels, they have things in place where they can't just buy. And there's a link. They can't just buy a bazillion copies of an album. I mean, maybe they can, but of a song. Maybe they can, but we'll see what happens with the industry, right? The industry is going to adapt into some different ways to make BTS's success a lot harder. But for now, get this number 1 through purchasing. That's the important. And never buy more than 4 copies at once. Every day, 4 copies. That's the goal. Every day, 4 copies. If you buy 4 copies every day for 5 days, you have 20 copies. If 100,000, if 1,000 people buy 20 copies, that's 20,000 copies. If 5,000 people buy 20 copies, that's 40,000 copies. If 10,000 people buy 20 copies, that's 200,000 copies. Think about that. All you need, 10,000 people out of everybody on Army Twitter. Everybody on Army Twitter, 20 copies. So buy 4 copies. And buy according to your budget at the end of the day, yes. If you don't have money, don't spend money. Save your money. But try to buy. And try to get other people to buy. And try to spread the word so that other armies buy. What to do when I don't have friends. Make friends through Army. Your Moot Boraje funds is great through and through. I don't know why Boraje funds was decided that they're gonna spend all like the majority of their money on Dynamite this week. I don't think that it makes sense because no matter what support Dynamite gets from fans, it's going to get enough support from fans combined with the industry push that it gets in order to chart really high. Like, it is severely the competition for BTS right now in terms of Life Goes On for number one. Like, BTS are really competing with themselves. Because Dynamite, they already had the physicals, a shipping of physicals. Thank you for subscribing. They had a shipment of physicals that came out, right, for Dynamite. So, there's some things about Boraje funds that I am dubious of. I don't like how they respond to people either on Twitter. I don't like how they threaten legal action against people for just asking questions or for like doubting them, because people are in their rights to do that. However, overall, Boraje Funds does do important fundraising work. I just prefer Funds for Bangtan. We don't have to get into some argument or some quarrel either, because it is what it is. Fans should be focusing on Life Goes On, though. 4 copies of Life Goes On every day. 4 copies of Life Goes On from the website every day, and then download all of them. Click download on all of them. I don't know if that matters. I don't think it matters personally, but it's always worth just the extra thing. The Dynamite Grammy discourse is kind of weird. I don't understand why people think that if at this point we don't support Dynamite like we're supporting Life Goes On, that they're not going to win the Grammy for Dynamite. Why would that matter? It's in the Academy's hands now. The Academy's not going to be like, well, they bought 50,000 copies of Dynamite this week instead of 30,000. That's important. You know, it's already going to chart really high. And it's already been number 1 for 3 weeks. Regardless, 4 copies of Dynamite. Thank you for subscribing. It's going to be $3. It's going to be $3, you know. Sometimes, some of us, you know, we have jobs and we can spare $3 a day. So, and then make sure you click download. You can also do favors for people that you know. Like, hey, I'll give you a back massage if you if you buy 4 copies of Life Goes On, you know. I'll buy you a cookie, you know. Got other people involved. Diversify. The nominations are already set, and now they're talking about, well, then they have to decide who wins. And it's like, they're not going to decide who wins the Grammy Award for Record of the Year based off of whether or not Dynamite got 40,000 purchases rather than 25,000 or 10,000. They're not going to decide it based on whether or not Dynamite was number 1 for 4 weeks instead of for 3 weeks. And there's an excess. There's a strong, a much larger initiative for Life Goes On to be number 1 than for Dynamite to be number 1 again. Because Life Goes On is in Korean. It is written by the members of the group. It would be their first OT7 written by the members of the group Korean song to be number 1. It would make history in that way. It would be a signification to the industry that we can still get number 1s even if you don't give us the industry push. And it's their new title track. Both songs are the title tracks, and I think Dynamite's success is something that should not be taken lightly. I don't think it's something that should be looked over by armies. We should still support Dynamite, and we should remember that even if the numbers for the rest of the album aren't like Dynamite level, that Dynamite is already hard carrying, because Dynamite is a hit. She's in commercials. She's, you know, she went number 1 3 weeks. Like, she's huge. So her success is already just astronomical, to the point where everything else at this point kind of feels like roses, you know? So, yeah, and if you're not from the U.S., you can donate to Funds for Bangtan or give some money to see American Mutuals. Just whatever you can do. And then there's radio, which is also factoring into the charts for some reason. The reason is money. People still listen to the radio, kind of. And the radio is very much owned and pushed by labels. The labels determine what gets on the radio. It is still accounting for charts to a certain degree. And there's power in the radio. And on the radio, so far, Life Goes On has gotten like 6 plays. Dynamite got 900 in the first day. Dynamite got 5. Dynamite got Life 900. Life Goes On got 5. So basically what I'm trying to say to you is, no matter how many fucking Army radio requests we do, and how many chocolates we ship out, and how many times we tweet at DJs like, hey, if you play this way, that is not a demand issue. That is not a consumer demand issue, especially when it's the fucking it's the fucking artist that just had a #1 song for 3 weeks, that has one of the biggest songs in the country, that is one of the biggest artists in the world, by every measure. So this is for some idea to have some idea in your head that whether you're a radio DJ or one of these armies that still cares about radio, to still think that, and there's nothing wrong with doing radio requests as an army. Do whatever you want to do. Like, absolutely, it would be helpful. It would be cool. But like, to think that that is the thing that armies just need to request things on radio more. Armies just don't know how the industry works. Fuck you. This is how the industry works. When you're a popular artist, you get treated like one. And yet for BTS, they're not getting treated like one by radio. Any measure that the industry can control over whether or not BTS, gets the push, the industry is not doing for Life Goes On. They did half of what they did, like a half, like a general vibe for Dynamite, and it went crazy. It went bananas. And for Life Goes On, they're doing nothing. They're doing nothing. So no matter how many fucking radio requests, frankly, sometimes you do the radio requests, they don't play the song. Frankly, you go hard for these radio DJs, and they go, oh, thank you, and they use you as a token army to demonstrate, oh, see, if you try hard to get the song on the radio, we'll play it on the radio. Or to say like, oh, see, I listen to the people and I listen to the heartbeat of the nation. And so when armies requested that I play it, fuck you. The song should be getting played regardless. It is one of the biggest songs in the world by one of the biggest artists in the world. And one of the biggest songs in the United States by one of the biggest artists in the United States. So why is the United States radio not playing it? We've been over it, man. Beach swag. These radio stations are not getting paid by Columbia Records to play the song. So simple as that. Remember that. Remember that Dynamite got that, and radio, they would have killed it if they could. They would have loved for it to have been a demonstration of how BTS are actually not as big as they were. And BTS fucking clobbered it. And they're going to clobber it again. It's either going to go number 2 or number 1, frankly. Dynamite is either number 2 or number 1. I would be shocked if it wasn't. With the purchases that came in, with the pre-orders for this day, and the fucking fact that it's on the album and the streams that it's getting, it got more streams than Life Goes On. The GP is streaming it. It's number 6 on radio. Dynamite is huge. Huge, bro. But beach swag, bro. That's it. That's all it comes down to, bro. Columbia Records, A&R Dynamite. Do you understand what that means? They pitched it. They got the songwriters on board. They were taking pitches for an English song for BTS. I know BTS have said that this was a song that they chose to keep in English, and I believe them, that this was their decision, and that they just decided because the song was working in that language to keep it there. But Columbia also coerced this. They A&R'd it. They sought out the songwriters. They did a camp or whatever. They got the English language songs for BTS. They had the sense of what kind of vibe they wanted. And Ron Perry and his wife A&R'd it. Meaning artists and recording, I think. What does A&R stand for? Fuck, I forgot. Artists and repertoire. Talent scouting. Commercial development. They A&R'd the record, and they put some different channels in for which they can make money from the record. And they're making money off that record, but they're not making money off Life Goes On, so they're not pushing Life Goes On. That's it. That's it. They're not even acting like Life Goes On has anything to do with them. I would be surprised if they even distributed it. They might not have even distributed it. So they might not even have a right to put fucking the song anywhere. At this fucking point. Life Goes On and B are BTS at their core, creating their own music with their company that they have ownership of and releasing it on their terms. It is their record. And it's a great record. But it's not going to get that push from Columbia because it's not Columbia's record. Maybe if BTS did an album of 12 Dynamites, That would go crazy. But they don't, because they don't feel like it. And maybe one day they will feel like it, and it'll slap. But we know that what BTS are doing is fucking different. It is their work. It is independent for them, you know, relative to what the market is here. And it's revolutionary. And so we should support it with our money and our listens. And we shouldn't let anybody get in the fucking way of our enjoying this moment in time where something spectacular is happening. And with that being said, I'm going to go. It's been excellent talking to you guys. It's almost 2:20 here. So I'm going to head out. And I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope to have a nice Monday night stream. We'll see what happens. And stay tuned, guys. But thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys are all doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Please hydrate, work out, exercise, stretch, meditate, deep breathing, do your homework, talk to your friends, go for a walk, talk to your family. Take care of yourselves. And stream. Do all the things that we just talked about. Stream, buy. 4 copies. Remember, 4 copies. All right. See you guys. Have a good one.